second to look at our agenda. So here we have about the campaign. We're going to learn about what the Student Voices campaign is. We're going to go through one of the exercises with you all, identifying what's your vision. We're going to look at tools and resources that are available through this campaign and some of the research that we've done. We're going to hear from our teacher, Denise Tarr, who's been doing this in the classroom for 6?
I think 2016, I think, was the first year, and every year since. Yeah. So about
Amazing.
6.
So we're so glad to have Denise with us. We're going to hear from a student who won last year. He brought a video, and then we are going to hear from Matthew about the grid. So thank you so much for joining us, ending with the Q&A, obviously, for any of your questions. All right, so jumping ahead, what is the Student Voices campaign? So the Student Voices campaign is an arts challenge that asks California public school students in grades 7 through 12 from across arts disciplines to demonstrate how the power of creativity can address important community issues. And it does that by asking them to submit an art piece based on a prompt, which we then connect with their message to their school board members so that they can advocate for what the change they want to see in their districts with their own voice. So the campaign provides school and community leaders with powerful examples of the importance of arts education and encourages them to take student voice into consideration when making decisions that affect students. So our prompt for the year is, how do the arts support mental health and create cultural understanding? And this question we love. And it was created by our arts education activist interns, which is a cohort of 11 students. And here they are. And Isha is joining us. We're so glad to have her here. So it's a cohort of 11 students who are fighting for change in their districts. So this question is incredibly timely because we know that with everything students are facing, there needs to be a serious focus on social emotional learning and supporting the mental health of our students and teachers. And we know that creating cultural understanding is key to bringing anti-racist practices squarely into our schools. So we thank them for this prompt, and we're really excited to hear what submissions look like this year. So we've had hundreds of submissions over the years, and this one I always turn to because I just think it's such a beautiful representation of what's possible with this campaign. And it's also a really good way of thinking about how it doesn't have to be video. It can be a poem, it can be a sound, it can be an image, and all of those can combine to create a really strong message that can bring a student's advocacy to the front. So this was created in partnership with Get Lit Words Ignite, and it was written by Miriam Sachs for our campaign. And no matter how many times I've watched it, I can't get enough. So I will stop speaking and play it. If I can find my mouse, here we are.
Every classroom across.
We'll start at the beginning.
There is a student named Art in every classroom across the nation. But we plucked out her voice box, stole her brushes, clipped her guitar strings, and gave her a seat in the back of the classroom. Without her, we are all separate islands, floating at sea by ourselves, alone in crowded hallways. Without her, we have no life rafts, bridges, anchors. We chew on our pencils, stare out the window, look at the clock. There is a student named Art in every classroom across the nation, and when we give her her voice back, we start to listen. She dresses in primary colors and smiles at strangers during passing period. Art plays the piccolo in her best friend's folk band. The songs they play don't have much rhythm, but still get everyone dancing. Her mouth is a garden that does not whisper thorns to anyone. She'd rather plant seeds in the palms of their hands, promises they will blossom no matter their roots. Art doesn't understand math because of its solid and straight lines. She can't fathom there being only one answer to anything. So she sketches her own equations. Poetry plus passion equals peace. She subtracts subjectivity from logic, finds that there is so much comfort in creation, beauty, in becoming the person people want to sit next to at lunchtime. Art includes everyone in the conversation. Her messages are murals on barren brick walls, hoping that all who stop to stare will take a shade of color with them. Some teachers think Art is the troublemaker, blame her for daily disruptions, doodling and scattered attention, but Art is the reason we woke up at 6 and took 2 buses to get here, just to hear her speak in sparkle, just to learn her lesson for today. But if we close down her theaters, plunder her paint, deactivate her microphone, and unplug her voice, school becomes a silence that is perfectly intact. No one wants to be the person to break it. There is a student named Art in your classroom, your school, your district. She can be the click of comprehension the moment you master the concept, as long as we give her the chance. Today, she writes of the world she would like to see tomorrow, a world that is colorful and warm, the perfect weather for anyone to bloom.
Excellent. So we're facing a lot of challenges as a society. The climate crisis threatens our homes, systemic racism impacts every institution, and we worry about the mental and physical health of ourselves and loved ones. Things often feel out of our control, and our students are the ones facing the long-term ramifications of decisions we make now. So now for the good news. Each and every one of us has the potential to create change. Each of us has a voice and the ability to create a vision of a safer, more equitable world. Through advocacy and activism, we can encourage students to make a difference in their community and the world at large. And this is where the Student Voices steps in by providing a platform for students to reflect on and speak about the change that they would like to see in their school and community. So to connect them to this world at large, we are offering a couple of ways to address this challenge. And this is just one of the tools that we're offering to support research and education around this. So the UN Sustainable Development Goals connect the campaign on a worldwide scale and to an audience fighting to make the world a better place. So we're focusing on two goals. There's many, this website is amazing, but the two goals that we're focusing on are quality education and peace, justice, and strong institutions, as they tie most directly into support of an equitable arts education for all, which is what we are fighting for here. So quality education, quality arts education, we know that with students who have access to the arts are 5 times more likely to stay in school, 4 times more likely to be recognized for an academic achievement, and 3 times more likely to receive a bachelor's degree. Yet only 32% of California schools provide the state required level of arts education. The second one we identify is peace, justice, and strong institutions. So we know that institutional racism impacts every member of our society. And we recognize that within the current pre-K through 12 education system, there is inequitable access to a quality arts education. The statistics presented on this slide come from ACLU, SoCal, who we've been working with around this issue, the civil rights issue of an equitable arts education. So we believe that every student has a right to a well-rounded education, and yet 9 out of 10 public schools are failing to provide full access to the arts. And that the students facing the largest opportunity gap are historically under-resourced communities, students in special education programs, and students and youth going through the juvenile court system. So on a national level, you'll see here this comparison, only 39% of students are currently enrolled in the arts of any form compared to the percentages in other states. And these are facts that students can really get behind and really get animated and excited about, and also need to know, right? When thinking about presenting their argument, thinking about what they're fighting for, understanding why it's important and how the state is comparing, these are all valuable tools in a toolbox when creating a compelling argument. So there's a link there that I encourage you to go to for the ACLU Justice, more information. And this is also part of our resource page, which we'll be giving at the end. So we know how important the arts are to our futures, and it's time for schools and communities to reflect the education and environment that students want to experience and live in. So students have the opportunities to submit in all AME pathways, so dance, theater, music, visual arts, and media arts. And the deadline has been identified as February 7th. So we are very looking forward to submissions this year. Students who enter have the possibility of receiving a cash prize, Adobe software, and an arts materials package. And historically, we've honored outstanding submissions at an in-person event. So I'm going to pause on that train of thought and just identify that we have a new website. Create California has a new website overall, but the Student Voices campaign has a new web page. And it's very exciting. It went live today, but not all the links are live. So if there are things that you're like, why is this circling back? It will get going. We just wanted to get a really nice platform for y'all to go to and know what you were looking for once it gets live all of the way. But on that site, you'll see that there's a classroom guide, and that contains standards-based curriculum that you can use in your classroom if you want to integrate this more seamlessly into your classroom activities. So with that, I'm going to transition into a short video of the grid, which Matt will talk a little bit more towards the end of this, but I just thought it was a really important example of what's possible with youth voice and youth advocacy, and what the event looks like now that we've sort of gone virtual. Denise Joy has joined us for many years in person, and that was amazing, but we also feel like this is a wonderful opportunity for students as well. So without further ado,
as a current student organizer, I've really seen firsthand the power of youth voice to really transform lives, uplift communities, and
guide others to accessing their own freedom.
It's not just about purchasing things, it's about transferring power and energy to people.
The character's culture and where they're from, instead of making their culture invisible or erasing. Advocate for arts education, because I feel like it is very important that we keep this alive and, spread it across, multiple states.
If you make a mistake, even if it's like a big old fat one, go with it, baby. Put some red on it, put some spice on it, put some whipped cream on it, and make it work.
But thinking about how you can use your voice, your creativity, and your spirit to bring change within your community.
Because we don't call dance just dance. We call it body liberation.
Out, shake it, out, shake it, out, shake
They
it,
just grow exponentially in that area, and for me that's so fulfilling. And
don't be afraid to learn. Ask as many questions as you possibly
I'm
can.
gonna submit my answers and move on to the next challenge. And this one is really fun. So if you've ever heard the term, now you're gonna love this.
So I went to school and I started knowing people, but then I only knew people that were starting off like me. I really had to work hard. I did a lot of freelance.
so like I said, Matthew will talk a little bit about that at the end. Shout out to Lori on this call. So glad that you're here. And I'm going to end my section with this activity that you can do in your classrooms to connect with your students. Just get juices flowing, ideas out there, and we'd love for you to participate in this with us, which is asking you to think about one thing that you would change to make your school and community a better place. So it's a Menti link, and obviously most of us are in person now, so this can be done if you want it to be anonymous through slips of paper in a bowl. If students are feeling more brave, they can brainstorm on the board or with each other and do share outs. But this was a good, the Menti link seemed like a good opportunity in this virtual landscape. So go ahead and take a second and identify what your one thing is, and then I will stop sharing this and I will start sharing our results. So the other thing that we do with this is that we like to keep it as a collective. So this question has been answered already this year, and we like to sort of keep a record of where people are in their communities and their heads and their bodies. And so, just painting a picture of what that looks like. So forgive me if I call out somebody that's not here, but I love this understanding of rigor in an arts education, culturally relevant arts ed, value of the arts by parents and teachers, involving younger parents into our school, equitable arts education for K through 12 students, a lasting commitment for full arts program, regardless of leadership changes. Yes, sustainability, we love to see it. Listening to young people to lead the way. They are our future. They will be shaping what our world looks like. Start them now. All students, all art forms, yes. Mental health services, absolutely. A place students want to be. This is what school should be, yes. Thank you so much for taking the time to share with us. I'm gonna stop screen. Ooh, give students more opportunities to bring art and technology together in their projects. Yes, moving us forward. Purchase the book Art and Fear, cool. Thanks for the recommendation. All right, I would make our school one with wraparound services free to families and students. Yes, it is hard to learn if you are hungry or cold or don't have a place to live. Thank you for that. All right. So I am going to stop talking and I am going to pass it on to our lovely next speaker, Denise.
Thanks, Caitlin. Hi, everybody. I'm happy to be here. I'm going to share my screen and share with you a few slides that I have put together just to kind of talk about my experiences with the Student Voices campaign. And as this says, I'm a really big fan of the Student Voices campaign. I've been doing it, I think, since 2016, like I said, and of course, it's going to take a long time to load. And this is from one of the events that my students and I were able to go to. I think this might have been like the first, oh, no, I think this is what the one in Oakland with Tony Thurman and the supervisors, the superintendent's race. But I've had the opportunity to be involved, and I came at it from a different angle in terms of doing it as a theater teacher. But I utilize theater in my classroom for my students because I found it to work kind of like a mask. It was like an effective filter for my students who might have felt too shy in theater class, especially because although it's considered elective, my students did not elect to take my class. So they come into my class and they don't know what theater is. They're shy. And, you know, I kind of learned over the years how to accommodate my program to fit my students' needs. And what I loved about this are all these things that Student Voices campaign, that it offered all of this for my students. It gave them an authentic audience, which heightened the product that they were creating because it wasn't just for class or just for their teacher. I allowed my students to work in teams, which allowed for that peer collaboration and to take on different roles so they could find something that one would get them out of their comfort zone or allow them to be in their comfort zone, whatever they were choosing to do at that time. It created buy-in because there was going to be this idea of other students participating, and they were really excited about getting to share their opinions with our school board members for LAUSD. Since we are such a large district, that's not something that's easy for our students to be able to do most times. I also loved at the time, I was really focused. I think when we first started, it was like kind of the beginning of Common Core, and so much emphasis was being placed on informational text and our students being able to cite evidence and explain it. And I found this to be a way to kind of sneak in a lot of that informational text reading. I found that my technique when I first started this is I didn't know how to do it, which was very convenient. So when my students would ask, how do I do this? I'm like, I'm not really sure. Let's look that up. Let's read through this together and see if we can figure it out. So they were reading informational text to figure out how to edit, how to transfer clips, how to do all these things. So it was like sneakily put in there and they didn't even know it, but they were applying, you know, their skills after reading through this informational text. Later, I've learned that what I was doing by giving them voice is found in all of these best practices arenas with Dr. Quaglia in terms of giving our students voice allows, like it says with the statistics, 3 times more likely to experience self-worth in school. They're 5 times more likely to be engaged, and they're 5 times more likely to have a sense of purpose. And then I recently started the magnet program that I'm in with my colleagues and have learned about digital citizenship and those standards with my colleagues. And so I found that we were also incorporating a lot of the ISTE standards with digital citizenship, the creative communication. So they were doing a lot of these things by doing this project. And I found this out last year with doing distance learning. I really loved this tool that I found in this particular book. And when I looked over these learning database metrics that were provided in the book, that the fact that we were doing this project also allowed a lot for maximum learning, especially at that time, because I feel like it was such a challenge for so many teachers to reach our students. And I wasn't sure, I think last year when I did this webinar, how this was going to work. And I even reached out to Matthew after another professional development I attended, to try to strategize. And I was surprised. Like every single student turned something in. I would go into breakout rooms and there were smiles, their cameras were on, they were talking, they were collaborating, they were figuring it out. I had a quote here from a student who wrote me this like 5-paragraph essay, like not assigned, but just talking about saying thank you to me after the year. And she said, after working on the Student Voices campaign video, I learned how much I loved sharing my ideas with others and being able to work with others. Even though it was a mess at times, we were able to push through and create a product I'm proud of. And she says she now wants to do something in the art industry for her future career. She's also thinking about doing something in the film industry or working in a theater production. So she was somebody who was super shy at the very beginning and then ended up creating this beautiful video about why the school district should have training for staff and teachers on how to prevent LGBTQ bullying. And it's, something that I've never been offered, training on that in the district. And I thought it was actually really astute. So 100% Student Voices campaign, big fan. I have always, I'm so grateful that I get to have this project for my students, and every year has been just amazing. And these are just some of the years that I've done it in the past where my students made films when they were finalists and were able to go to the summit and the screening. And this first one, it wasn't necessarily arts specific at that time. It was a little bit more generalized. And so they thought that school should start at 10 o'clock and their video was about that. And I totally, after last year having a late start, agree with them 100%. The second year, our students made a video about following up with LAUSD about having dating abuse counselors in every high school. There was an incident at our high school next door to the middle school, and at that time, LAUSD made a commitment to have these counselors, and then they never followed through. So the students, at the same time they were producing this play, There's No Excuse for Dating Abuse, they made a video about how they had done this research and found out that LAUSD never followed up on that, and they think it's important. So they were able to make a video to follow up with the school board about that. And then I think this was my last time I was able to be in person in Oakland with the students. And it was a really exciting event. They got to interview our now superintendent, Tony Thurman, and the person he was running against at the time. So we just had a great time being involved in this. And I think this was the last live session that they were able to do the screening, and my student Betsy on the far right was able to attend with her video, More Arts Equals a Better Future. So I highly recommend this. There's lots of resources here. They probably changed, Caitlin, I'm not certain. This was from the last ones that we used, but you can pick and choose the different suggestions that are made in these resources that were on the website. And I've found some years that I will go into local control funding formulas so students understand why their voices need to be heard and that they're supposed to be heard by their school districts and their choices. And sometimes because of time, I've been able to just kind of give them a brief primer about that and then, get them into groups and work mainly on their videos. So I wrote down some steps, and there's like a couple of slides of the way that I've over the years kind of like created the lessons to go with this, and things that I found to be helpful are the ones that I outlined in yellow. I'm now trying to get the students to read the prompts carefully and the rules and guidelines and make their own checklist. And my hope is to have this skill transfer into writing essays and reading essay directions and the rubrics and the way they're going to be graded. Because, I'm also an English teacher, and I can see that oftentimes our students will begin writing, but they don't necessarily go back to check to see what needs to be in it. So I'm trying to transfer that and make that a skill that, if you do that over here with this video and this contest in order to win, like, hey, let's do that in your SBAC essay that you have to write, where it says cite evidence from 2 different sources and explain it. I have traditionally done groups like this and given roles, but Matthew gave me a great suggestion last year, which was to have students maybe work on different pieces of a video. So if your students aren't able to be together, I thought that was a great suggestion that I wish I would have done it with some of the groups, but it worked out. Like Emmeline said, as messy as it was, sometimes it worked out. I really would suggest doing the video pitch first. So to hear students' ideas and kind of, again, students who might be off track, connect them back to the prompt. So it kind of gave me an idea of what they were thinking about and allowed to make suggestions prior to them going into filming it and then going, whoa, this wasn't what they were looking for with the prompt. Let's go back and look. And then, again, having the students create a checklist to go through what might be helpful. So these are just some of the things that I found to work. I want to highlight this one. This came after a PD I took where we had a group discussion about what would support from me look like. And I think that came from me feeling like I was nagging too much in the classroom, because sometimes they would go off and do things and I don't know what they're doing outside of the classroom. And some groups I would see sitting in the classroom, I'm like, I was a little bit concerned. So I just would back off with this statement that I'm like, what would that look like? And they could tell me what they wanted from me. And I'm like, great, that's what you're going to get. That's awesome. And it was this beautiful agreement that kind of gave them agency, that I was there to be a resource. And I just love that because I could do that for them and then kind of allow them to take ownership. And then we incorporate design thinking at our school. So we do a lot with prototype, revising, 2 likes and a wish is a technique that I use. 2 things that we like, 1 thing that we wish that was different to give feedback. So prototyping, reiterating, getting feedback and reiterating is part of that process. But I highly recommend this cute little short video called Austin's Butterfly, which is about 7 minutes and also just kind of shows students the revision process where they get to see like, oh yeah, you can like make multiple versions of something and connect that to the artistic process. Our last step that we do is writing with their submission. They do write a letter to their school board, but I also in addition have them write thank you letters to those who help them. So I like to incorporate that practice. So these are the wonderful things that I have found that the Student Voices campaign helps my students. It gives them relevance, peer collaborative groups. It gives them an authentic audience. And of course, prizes motivate everybody. So these are some resources. I have a feeling Matthew might go over more of these, but these are some that we've used in the past. My students recently have been using CapCut. They really like that one. And we were able to, in distance learning, use Google Drive for the students to share clips between each other in order to have different people editing different parts and then putting them together. And I was able also to have facilitate when that wasn't working through Schoology, some clips for them as well. So I think we're going to do Q&A later. So I'm happy to take questions. And then my email is here. And I think you'll also get a link to these slides when I'm all finished. And that's my part. Thanks for letting me speak on behalf of this awesome project. I can't wait for this new prompt too, Caitlin. I'm so excited. It's going to be fun.
Thank you so much, Denise. and we don't have to jump ahead. If anybody has questions for Denise right now, we can pause, or if we want to wait and rejoin, then anything coming up immediately. We're just so glad to have your expertise here, Denise, and breaking it all down. Thank you so much. So true to form, we try to get student voice involved in an authentic way every time. Obviously, we all have different schedules, and I figured that 6 p.m. on a Friday was not the best time for this, which is what the availability of the student I wanted to speak was. But he made this amazing video that I would love to share with you now. It's very short, so hang in there, and then we'll hear from Matthew. So let me share screen again, take you through the process of opening my window, and here we go.
Hello everyone, my name is Brandon Giant and I participated in the Student Voices campaign earlier this year, and I'm just here to share my experience with you guys. So one morning I was at home in my virtual classroom because of the whole pandemic, and I was just reading our school's announcements in the emails, and I stumbled upon a very interesting poster, right, in big words. It says, "Your voice, your vision, your school." I saw the campaign. It offered students the opportunity to express their love for arts and also to push for arts education. And I instantly gravitated towards it because throughout my entire life, I have been a person that loved art. I have done all types of art mediums. I played the piano for a good chunk of my life from a very young age. And also I used to draw a lot. I painted, and I watched lots of movies. I think at some point I liked dance, but I didn't really pursue that. That's besides the point. And so, I was looking at it and I really loved what they were doing with it. And so, I clicked on the link, and, what really sealed the deal for me actually participating in this was the type of submission. Throughout my entire life, I've been wanting to become a filmmaker, a person that makes any kind of film, whether it's like commercial or actual movies that you can see on the big screen. And so I saw this and I was like, this is it. I'm in. All right. This is what I want to do.
Okay. So Brandon submitted this amazing video. It was 12 minutes long. And so I really sloppily edited it because although we want to hear, this video will be available in its entirety. I figured that we would cut it down to a little bit more manageable length for this chunk. So, but obviously, a student who was committed to this, he submitted independently and has just really been, this was his first time advocating for anything. And it was really powerful to hear that. And he won. And he wasn't sure, and he did it anyway. And so that's what we want from the campaign, is just to provide everybody that opportunity. So I will pass it to Matthew, who will tell us a little bit more about the grid event that I mentioned and what that's going to look like.
Great. Thank you, Caitlin. And thank you, Denise, for that great breakdown of how you and your students have been excelling and really enjoying this. So, all right, let me cue this up. Everybody see that? Again, after a year and a half working from home, still I'm never sure about that. So yeah, again, just bringing the Student Voices campaign and the grid event together, just really excited about it. So it's going to be taking place in March 2022. And if you are not familiar with the grid, it has been happening for the last 3 or 4 years, and obviously started as an in-person thing. It's been in Chicago, been on the East Coast, been across California. And obviously COVID changed everything. So for the last year and a half, it has been completely remote. So this year we're going to try to sort of bring those two things together a little bit and have a hybrid event. March 2nd is going to be live student events and speakers from Pomona. I guess I'll come back to that. We're going to be at the School of Arts and Enterprise, where they're going to be putting on some amazing student performances, some of our great keynote speakers there. And obviously, if you are not located there, it will also be available for you to access over remotely, as we're going to be able to see from that. And then on Thursday is really what everybody loves about the grid is just the workshops, the panels. In previous years, we've had Nickelodeon, we've had different small nonprofits whose mission just aligns with bringing student voice and bringing skill sets to the students who are there and across the board. So the workshops and panels on that day. And then on Friday, March 4th is going to be the student showcase, where the submissions that you guys will be submitting in connection to the student voice campaign will get a chance to be seen by all students. And then Caitlin can talk about this more a little bit. And then a month later, they will be announcing their winners from that at their follow-up event, just to give everybody a chance to sort of see this and see what's going on. So let me show you a little bit more. So they talked about, and again, Denise did a great job talking about a video production. And again, but I'm going to spend a little bit of time just stressing the other pathways that are out there, you know, depending upon what your student skill set are and what they might be interested in. I mean, they have animation and game design, obviously video production, but also audio production, dance, theater, and obviously to submit those, they will be filming them, as well as graphic arts, visual arts, stuff that they can submit. And just sort of, you know, sitting back and thinking, well, what could that incorporate? And this is a long list. I certainly don't expect you to read it all, but just anywhere from animatics to animated shorts to even creating puzzles and games through video from game design. Last year remotely, I had my animation class make their own almost sort of like story maze type narrative video games where they created the experience, they would read and have some interactive buttons and be able to advance through it. And even be able to just sort of have different things that through the grid be able to really see and showcase. And then also like musical and sound production. You know, that to me, I think has such an amazing ability. And obviously we think about video, but just the spoken word, doing a radio or audio drama where they were able to build in these sound effects and really build on the sound design, or even a recorded poetry slam a project that they could do. Just a lot of different things where, again, I think video can obviously be very compelling and really resonate, but don't disregard the others and don't forget about the others where they can also be showcased and really have a great way to bring together students, art, and sort of that mental health as this year's prompt provides. And then I guess I want to back up here. And so what I want to talk about is what the grid is going to look like. So, you know, we're all familiar, like sitting in Zooms, our kids get, you know, they're just kind of gets a little boring, gets a little redundant for them. I'm going to switch to a different screen here. And this is not actually for our event, but this is where I sort of got introduced to Filmocracy. And they are basically trying to find ways to make virtual art experiences, film experiences, a little bit more interactive. So this is one I went to last year for the Brick Foundation. And it really has this sort of video game avatar / Zoom room sort of thrown all together. And basically they will see, and again, this is not the one that'll be there for the grid. We're developing our own and to fit with something for the students, but basically all these rooms are interactive. And if I click into one of these, you get drawn into essentially what is a Zoom room, but it looks nothing like a Zoom room. There are tables, there are spots where the students can get together in essentially small little breakout rooms and meet people and interact with other people. So they really have a chance to actually meet people as if it was an in-person experience, an in-person event. And what we'll have is we'll have one dedicated to the video submissions, to the animation submissions. And it really functions as this private room where the students have video on demand type capabilities. So they can kind of look through, oh, here's student A from a school up in Oakland. I want to watch their video. And they can watch it together with those 3 or 4 people who are there in that breakout room together, while at the same time, other students will be in a different room and they might watch something from a student from San Diego. And it really has this great interactivity ability to it. We're going to have one dedicated to audio and music that's created by students. We're even planning to pick a few students to have little DJ sessions, where again, it just allows them to feel like this isn't just sitting in a room for all day and just sort of feeling what they've felt for the last 18 months. So there's got this interactive ability to it. And there'll be stuff where, again, they will have stuff that will be able to talk to some of the panelists, some of the other organizations that are supporting us along the way. We'll have some colleges here to talk about their art programs. that students can interact with. And again, so I think it's going to be a much more enjoyable, interactive experience where, again, students from San Francisco could be talking to students who are out in Central California, who might be talking to students down in Long Beach, and just have that ability to meet other people. And also, you know, oh, I know other friends of mine are coming. Let's get together and go watch some animated shorts together. Or, you know what, I really love theater, so there's going to be a whole room dedicated to the theater submissions going on through that. So, all right, and let me bring us back and just wrap up here with and as was already mentioned, this is all going to be, that submission deadline is February 7th. And again, those will go through both Student Voice Campaign, the grid. We'll be looking at those. We will highlight most of these on March 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, and then hand it off for the winners to be announced later on, I believe early April, if I'm not mistaken the date, but Caitlin can adjust me on that if that is off. So, but again, we're hoping that you're gonna be a part of it, hoping that you'll be able to submit stuff, and even worst case scenario, we want you to submit stuff. But even if your students aren't submitting stuff, this is free, this is open, the grid is available to all students. And I guess one thing I should also mention is not just high school students, also middle school students. We're really pushing to get middle school students to the grid this year as well. So if you are a SPAN school like my school is, or if you know other colleagues who teach at a middle school, we are happy to obviously have them submit as well. And even if they aren't submitting, still come in and again, get the great workshops and be able to both submit and see stuff from all across the state. Thank you, Caitlin.
Thanks, Matthew. Yay. It's so exciting. I can't wait to see these structures in place. It's so fun. I love that platform. Okay, I'm just acknowledging that there are 2 attendees here who are not required to be here. So we're going to open the floor up to y'all, not to spotlight you or put you on the spot, but Evelyn or Brett, do you have any questions we can address exactly to you that we can make this process more smooth, or anything you want to hear more about or know more about?
I was just curious to see, I received the web link, and it's interesting to me. I'm new as an arts coordinator in my district, so I wanted to see what was happening in this space because it sounds very exciting.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming, Brett, and follow up if you have any questions.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, and Evelyn.
I was just going to say that I'm looking forward to share this information at my districts. Our students have participated in the past. They've enjoyed it. The teachers have enjoyed it. So it was nice to see Denise's presentation as well, and the resources available to implement that project in the classroom. So thank you for this.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And we do have a, like I said, there's a resource sheet that I think Chantal maybe already put in the chat, but that will translate to our website once we are fully up and functioning on that page. So, you know, I'm going to wrap us up early because we have we have Sabrina in the waiting room. So I will let her in and then we will say hello. Sabrina, it's so nice to have you here. I love your icon. A little creativity is not optional.
Hi, it's great to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, we were just saying we're such a small group. There wasn't many questions, so we had left this time open, but we were going to wrap it up. So I'm happy to hang out and talk.
Yeah, I had a meeting that just ended because we had a meeting with all our department chairs at VAPA secondary level. So I apologize because I really wanted to be here to hear all the great stuff. So
no worries. It was recorded and we'll make the resources available, but I'm also happy to hang out and like talk a little bit about it if you want to.
Yeah, I can hang out for a little bit and then I have to go drive to a play to help support one of our intermediate schools that has a production tonight. But I had experience with this a little bit last year in Santa Ana Unified. I know we were talking, you and I, Caitlin. So I was just looking to see, you know, if it's going to be just film this year, if it's still multimedia. I know the prompt, but I'm also trying to just gently encourage some of our teachers in my new role in my new district, because I'm not with Santa Ana anymore, on, you know, what the options may be for their students.
Yeah, so we are open to all media. So dance, music, theater, visual arts, performing arts, media arts. I maybe repeated something in there, but you get the idea. And we do have this amazing new portal, which is so exciting. And a new website. So our webpage will be here. Boo, 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 boo. Oh, Chantal's on it. It's there. And then on that will be a submissions portal, and it really makes everything very streamlined. That's basically the only external link that's working right now. We wanted to make sure that that was up and running so y'all could see what that looked like. But that just really streamlines everything. And as you can see on there, there's different formats for different files, but everything is accepted and available. And then
you still have like the lesson plans and things like that as well. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. As Denise mentioned, it has sort of changed a little bit. Last year, we focused a lot on like activities that students could do from home and sort of adapted the curriculum for that. But it's all in existence and it's all there. And then I think, well, you know that we merged. So we, instead of the California Alliance for Create California, and then Denise in particular mentioned the LCFF handbook, which is amazing, but also we now have a very clear page on LCFF on our site, and we're offering that for teachers as well to use, and it's just a little bit more simplified and really gets at the facts that students may be interested in and connect to. So that's all on our website as well. Yeah, and then Matthew was here talking about the grid, which is going to be our half in-person, half virtual event where students will be able to submit their pieces and see them on a virtual platform in a massive showcase, and then we'll have student voting, and it should be like a pretty fun interactive experience. So that's the hour. That's what we summarized.
Well, thank you for summarizing that for me.
Yeah. But you know, Denise and Matthew spoke beautifully and very clearly and elegantly about it. And you know, Denise, having done this since 2016, is a really invaluable resource. And so I will send the recording out, and that might be a good thing to share with teachers who are interested in starting out. Just a good place to start from.
For sure. Yeah, I think, you know, when we were in the pandemic, at least from my perspective in Santa Ana, like I know it was just challenging, like activating students, because I think there was just so many external factors that they were facing. And I mean, even teachers too. We're kind of picking up, at least in my district and in my role here, is that teachers don't want to be asked to do like another additional thing. It's too much right now. And so I don't know, I want to be very like specific in the wording maybe that I use for this opportunity, you know, just focusing on the benefits of this process too. But any resources that you have that I think make it a little bit more simplified is always encouraged, because people don't want to get overwhelmed.
Yeah. I mean, Denise really breaks it down beautifully. So I would definitely check out her section and even just offer, if it's okay with Denise, we can even just share those slides, and that really simplifies things. But really, you know, I know we're all overwhelmed. We're all at capacity. And I do like to think of this as a gift for the students and the teachers to like reconnect on something that they feel passionate about and get them engaged in a way that's authentic to them. And I know that it's that initial hurdle to get over that and that new piece and that additional ask. But I do really feel like, you know, from what we've heard from past students, from past teachers, that this really is a gift for everybody involved. So
it meant so much to Chloe when she was able to get that recognition. I felt like for all of her efforts, and she was just always like a student that would take on any challenge and opportunity. So I think you're always going to be able to find individuals out there like that are just intrinsically motivated. They just need to be able to, you know, just like we say with our classes, like you don't know what you're passionate about until you have that experience and you're able to like dabble in it. So yeah, we'll see. I'm hopeful.
Yeah. Well, and if there is anything specific, and this goes to everybody involved, if there is anything specific that you want to see more of, or if you need some, you know, clarification or simplification, that, you know, please reach out. Don't hesitate to reach out, and I'll put my email in the chat. You'll also receive a follow-up email from me, but just in case, here I am. You can always email and we can see what we can do. So, our hope
Well,
is to
thank
make
you all for offering this opportunity and for offering your knowledge and for all the great work you continue to do. I use all the Create Stay stuff all the time, as you can tell from my contact icon. So
love it. We love it.
It's actually the background on my computer. It's not my virtual background, but I have it on my background on my computer. So
amazing. So glad to hear that's useful.
All right. Thank you so much. I'm actually going to pop off then.
Cool. And so are we. Thanks, everybody. Really good to see you, meet you.